How's it going, peeps? Welcome back to Viva La Coin. I am Joe. I will be your host for today's episode as we cover some updates for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space, so a couple things to expect in what's going to unfold for April, and ultimately some very important news that came out on a broader spectrum about how payments are going to be accepted from some very familiar names. So as we dive into this, please feel free, share this as much as you can to anyone in your life that is invested in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, or even those that may still not believe that anything important is happening. I feel like this information is important for them to see. If you hear any background noise, I apologize. You would think I would live next to a combination of a demolition derby and a fucking airport. However, we're just gonna dive right in anyway. So as we cover these different stories, if you have any questions about the material, leave a comment down below. I'm more than happy to respond. And let's just dive on in. So, looking at Bitcoin's price right now, right at the end of March, we are sitting just slightly under $59,000, and earlier today we were up to $59,300. Now, this is unfolding the way that I assumed it would, with knowing how this previous week with the dumps due to the futures date for the CME and everywhere else closing. Now, I want to point something out to everyone and why that was so important. Now, you have all these greedy individuals betting on the price of Bitcoin, and many who are more of a fan of the traditional centralized finance world short Bitcoin. They bet against it. Betting against Bitcoin in a bull cycle is probably more dangerous than getting in a matador outfit and going in and fighting a real life bull. It's not working out for them, so they had to dump it down as far as they could to limit the damage of the amount that they would have to pay. So when you look at the average price that they were calling for across the board, where the most volume was in the options that they selected, they anticipated a $44,000 Bitcoin around that last Friday in March. Well, they were sorely mistaken in their predictions. So what does that mean for April? If we look at where the most options volume lies right now, there's actually a chart from Glassnode that this article breaks down, but the highest volume of option calls right now for Bitcoin are sitting right at $80,000. So you can tell that is a massive jump from the 44K that most people were betting on last month. Now, you're still going to have a decent amount of funds or a decent amount of wealthy individuals betting against Bitcoin around $40,000. But if they want to keep hemorrhaging money, then that's on them. Most people understand that April, if we look at the history of Bitcoin and how it has unfolded over the previous couple 4-year cycles, is April is a very bullish month for cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in general. And betting against it, especially right now, would be a very bad idea. So most people looking at 80,000, some even up to 120,000. There's a lot of volume up there. In any case, not financial advice. I cannot see the future. I am not holding any of these option traders hostage so that they can put in more further futures or buy Bitcoin up to a higher price. But the data is showing us that we're not going to see as heavily of a fight as we get to the end of April, and even most of the individuals in the option space feel very bullish about it. And rightfully so, because let's take a look at some of the big news that just came out. So if you didn't see in the mainstream news, or if you don't follow me on my social medias, Visa just announced that they'll allow payment settlements using cryptocurrency. Now, in one of my previous videos, I did mention that they were working on laying out this roadmap for 70 million people to access cryptocurrency, which was a massive change of tune from their, oh, it's too slow, it'll never work, just a couple years ago. So they're already going to allow these transactions. And the way it's going to work is the USD coin, ticker USDC, that's what they're going to be using to settle those payments. Now, the USDC stablecoin is pegged to the United States dollar. So even though it's a cryptocurrency, if Bitcoin goes up in price, down in price, your USDC, if I have $1 worth of USDC, I have one USDC coin, and it doesn't fluctuate with the prices of cryptocurrencies in general because it's pegged to the US dollar. So as long as the dollar is relatively stable, those stable coins will be as well. Now, as they settle those USDC coins are built on top of Ethereum. So when I mentioned that Ethereum had some hiccups in their roadmap and rolling out these updates prior to July, this might be the injection of adrenaline Ethereum needed to push past that $2,000 mark and start climbing to new all-time highs. I still have yet to see whether or not that will be the case. I haven't purchased any more Ethereum, and this is one of those moments where I said I'm always leaving some Ethereum in my portfolio, even though I sold a bunch of it or converted it to other things that I believe are moving much, much faster. This is why I keep it, because if Ethereum pops off out of nowhere, I still want to be exposed to it. But I think this is incredible news for cryptocurrency in general, and they're not the only ones. PayPal followed suit, launches crypto checkout service. So PayPal has started allowing U.S. customers to use cryptocurrency to pay at millions of its online merchants globally. And this news was just announced today, so it's officially live. Customers who hold Bitcoin, Ether, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin in PayPal digital wallets will now be able to convert their holdings into fiat currencies at checkouts to make purchases, the company said. Now, in my opinion, I would not be using my cryptocurrency to buy anything right now. I understand that Tesla is accepting crypto and Bitcoin for their vehicles, and Chipotle just put out a tweet that they'll accept Bitcoin for their burritos. Well, if I bought a Tesla with Bitcoin right now, that Bitcoin is going to be worth significantly more down the road, whereas my car will just appreciate in value and doesn't give me anything in return. So that's why Tesla said they're not converting their Bitcoin back into fiat currency. And I think it would be a poor decision to spend your crypto on other things right now if you can afford to pay a different way. And also, just to throw in a little note, MasterCard as well will be following Visa's footprints. They were both announcing back in around late January, early February, that they were going to roll out massive roadmaps for crypto adoption. So it's not something that you're going to be able to avoid being exposed to, whether you're in cryptocurrency or not. So it's important to pay attention to everything that's unfolding. Now, I did want to touch on just a couple other stories real quick so that you have these in the back of your mind. So Ray Dalio, who is a billionaire hedge fund manager, just did a recent interview where he said the government outlawing Bitcoin is a good probability. And you see bullshit like this or fear-soaked stories come out from not only other countries we've just seen over the past month, like Nigeria or India, or some, reoccurring every year almost. They're like, oh, we're going to ban it, we're going to ban it. And they can't find a way to stop people from purchasing it, especially as their currencies are being destroyed by the day. So when you're looking at, oh, could they ban it? Even if they did, then I can still buy it anyway and I can go somewhere else. It would be like shooting themselves in the foot for one of probably the greatest economic shifts that we've ever seen, and it would be very dangerous on their end. But why would they do this? Why would they not want Bitcoin, or especially other altcoins would probably be closer to receiving a ban, I believe, than Bitcoin would be? But why would they do this? Well, Soros, chief investing officer, central bank digital currencies are a real threat to crypto, but won't permanently destabilize Bitcoin. So what he's referring to is many banks around the world, including banks in China, banks in India, and I guarantee you in the United States, we're considering doing this, is they'll make their own cryptocurrency. And I've seen people refer to it as this way, so I'm going to call it the Fed coin. So the Federal Reserve would then have digital money that everyone can move around, and they're like, oh, this is what we're going to use. This is what the people want. No, it fucking isn't. We don't really care that it's digital, right? The digital aspect of it is nice because you can send it anywhere in the world and it makes it very seamless, and you can just have things on your phone and computer and transfer that different, value to people. That's awesome. But the real value of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin especially is it is wholly finite. It is immutable. It is incorruptible. If you have a fucking digital Fed coin and you could just make more of them, just keep creating them just like we do US dollars, this doesn't solve anything. It doesn't. And no one would use that garbage anyway. There was a bank that put out a survey, or maybe it was even a bigger news site. I can't remember. It was like 2 months ago. But they asked 2 questions. One, do you feel confident in cryptocurrency? And it was like 80% of people that responded said yes, or at least to some extent, like they understood it. And then, would you trust a government digital currency, so a centralized digital currency that you could use? And I think 91% of people said no, because we already don't trust our current fraudulent, outdated system where we're not even using money or value. We are just transacting with fucking debt. So I think that there's no worry in my mind for this to disrupt anything. Instead, I would be more concerned about the damage the United States would do to itself in attempting to do this. And I want to wrap up with one final story, and it's a little bit unrelated, but it has a very important message. So the title of the story is "This Norwegian Billionaire Used to Hate Bitcoin, Now He's an Investor." And 9 days ago, billionaire investor Austin Spetalen used his platform at DNB Invest Conference to denounce Bitcoin as nonsense currency. Now he's not only bought his own stash of Bitcoin, but he also is investing in Norway's largest Bitcoin exchange, Mariax. So this goes to show that these wealthy individuals will come out and talk shit on Bitcoin all day and say, oh, don't buy it, don't buy it, don't buy it. And then if it goes up 2 times, 3 times, 5 times in price, they'll eventually just say, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to buy $5 million of it. And then everyone else that was told not to buy is looking at their bank account, because the average person, even in the US, can't afford a single emergency $500 payment, saying, what the fuck? You told me not to buy this. When it was not affordable, but it was at least more affordable, and you're watching it just run up, and then all of a sudden you just flip your script 9 days later and you buy Bitcoin and then invest in a Bitcoin exchange. That same issue is going to continue to happen. All of these people that can afford to sit there and talk shit on it or speculate or maybe even create fear, doubt, or uncertainty around it because it affects the norm, it affects their wealth. They're going to keep putting these stories out. They're going to keep having those bullshit conferences. They're going to keep trying to spread that. Do not fall for it. Do not sell your cryptocurrency to them, because they're going to be the ones that are buying it. And ultimately, I hope that this clears up some of what was going on with Bitcoin over the last week and what we have to look forward to in April. I think that $80,000 average that we're aiming for in the options, not that I need to see that to validate where Bitcoin's heading, but it allows me to know that we're not going to see as steep of a manipulation downward towards the end of the month. Now, will there still be some? Absolutely. And I think that even over the course of today and into tomorrow, the last day of the month, we might see a little bit of a rocky road to drive. But once we get past that point, it's clear skies for April, in my opinion. Altcoins as a whole, excluding Bitcoin, are at a new all-time high across the market. Bitcoin and the altcoins, the whole market cap of cryptocurrency is at a new all-time high at $1.8 trillion and climbing. We're about at 1.9. And ultimately, I hope that so far the channel has allowed you to prepare yourself for what is to come. And I'll be putting out content every single day to make sure that we stay on top of these stories for you, so that you know what's going on and you know how to prepare and protect yourself. Aside from that, as always, it is my honor to have you on this episode of Viva La Coin, and I will catch you guys next time.